The ecosystem effect, how Black women entrepreneurs are redefining success. Thank you all for being here today. I'm truly honored to stand before you to share insights that have fundamentally changed how I understand entrepreneurship in America. These revelations came through my extensive conversations with Diane Alexander, a visionary researcher, advocate, and ecosystem architect whose work is quietly revolutionizing business landscapes across the nation. Diane isn't just documenting change, she's catalyzing it. Through her groundbreaking research and community building initiatives, she has illuminated patterns that challenge our most fundamental assumptions about success, power, and transformation. Her methodologies have helped thousands of entrepreneurs reimagine what's possible, and her frameworks are being adopted by business schools and incubators nationwide. She represents the rare combination of rigorous academic insight and practical on the ground impact. For decades, we've celebrated a particular narrative about entrepreneurship: the lone genius, the maverick visionary, the individual who, through sheer force of will, creates something from nothing. We've built entire mythologies around solitary figures who supposedly changed the world through individual brilliance. But what if this story isn't just incomplete? What if it's fundamentally misleading? What if our obsession with individual achievement has blinded us to the true engine of entrepreneurial transformation? This is the question that kept surfacing during my conversations with Diane Alexander, whose research has uncovered something remarkable happening in entrepreneurial communities across America. Here's the counterintuitive truth that should shake every business leader, investor, and policymaker to their core. The most powerful force in business today isn't individual genius, it's ecosystem building. And at the forefront of this revolution are Black women entrepreneurs who are completely rewriting the rules of success. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Another talk about entrepreneurship? Haven't we heard this all before? But I promise you, what Diane's research reveals challenges everything we think we know about how business success actually works. Let me start with a surprising number: 32%. That's how much average revenues have increased for Black women owned businesses in recent years, outpacing nearly all other demographic groups. This isn't just impressive growth, it's extraordinary, it's transformative. But here's what makes this story truly revolutionary: these entrepreneurs aren't just building businesses, they're building entire ecosystems that lift others as they rise. This represents a fundamental shift in how we think about entrepreneurship. For too long, we've celebrated the myth of the self made success story. We've perpetuated the fiction that great entrepreneurs succeed primarily through individual effort, talent, and perhaps a bit of luck. But the data tells a different story. It reveals that the most sustainable success comes not from individual achievement alone, but from intentionally creating networks, infrastructures, and systems that enable collective advancement. Let me take you to New Orleans for a moment, a city that knows something about resilience. At the Women's Business Enterprise National Council Conference in 2025, Black women entrepreneurs gathered to showcase how they had transformed adversity into advantage. These weren't just successful individual business owners, they were ecosystem architects. The challenges they faced were substantial. Many received only about 45% of the loans they requested. They experienced loan denial rates of 25% compared to 19% for men. They navigated post pandemic recovery with fewer resources and greater obstacles. But rather than focusing solely on individual survival, these entrepreneurs did something remarkable. They leveraged collaborative networks, they shared resources across businesses, they mentored new founders, they advocated collectively for fairer funding practices. The results: Black women owned firms saw average revenue growth exceed 32%, with significant increases in employment within their communities. This isn't just business success, it's community transformation. Many of these entrepreneurs had previously struggled with isolation or lack of access, but they found momentum through group strategy sessions at past events, leading them to return as mentors themselves. They created local investment circles and launched accelerator programs tailored specifically for Black female founders. These efforts contributed directly to narrowing race and gender gaps locally while serving as a model replicated nationally. Now, contrast this with our traditional understanding of entrepreneurship. We've been taught that business is fundamentally competitive, that success means outperforming others, that the goal is to be the exceptional individual who rises above. But what if the most powerful form of entrepreneurship isn't about competition at all? What if it's about connection? What if the true measure of success isn't how high you climb alone, but how many you bring with you? This isn't just a feel good story, it's backed by hard data. A National Bureau of Economic Research study followed several high growth startups founded by Black professionals between 2019 and 2023. These founders faced significant structural barriers. Startup rates 22% lower than their white counterparts, fewer than 3% of venture backed opportunities, and failure rates 20% higher. These are sobering statistics that reflect persistent inequities in our entrepreneurial ecosystems. But here's where the story gets interesting. These founders didn't just accept these limitations, they innovated around them. They sought alternative financing sources, including crowdfunding, and built partnerships with angel investors committed to diversity. They prioritized hiring from within underrepresented groups. And despite receiving lower initial funding rounds, several of these startups achieved profitable exits faster than industry averages. How? Largely due to strong customer loyalty within niche markets they authentically understood. Most of these founders came from professional backgrounds outside tech and startups, but leveraged transferable skills plus culturally attuned market insights. They secured national media attention and inspired venture capital firms nationwide to reassess portfolio diversity metrics after witnessing these successes firsthand. In other words, they didn't just overcome barriers, they transformed the landscape for everyone. This pattern of transformation through ecosystem building appears again and again in Diane's research. Consider the recent labor statistics highlighted by Roland S. Martin, showing a dramatic drop in unemployment among Black women paired with an unprecedented surge in entrepreneurship during economic uncertainty. High unemployment during pandemic recovery disproportionately affected this group, but traditional job market setbacks spurred many towards self employment, initially out of necessity rather than choice. Community organizations responded by offering micro grants paired with targeted training programs focused on digital marketing skills essential during remote work transitions. Peer led accountability circles provided ongoing support post launch. The results? Hundreds transitioned successfully into full time entrepreneurship, with some scaling quickly enough within a 2-year time frame to become employers themselves. Many participants were first time entrepreneurs who pivoted careers after layoffs or furloughs, using informal social media connections as early customer bases before formalizing operations. Several featured businesses won regional awards recognizing innovation during crisis periods, with notable increases seen year over year both in revenue generation and job creation metrics locally. This demonstrated powerfully how adversity can catalyze not just survival, but thriving new enterprises when backed by intentional community infrastructure building efforts. Now, I want to be clear about something. The success of these entrepreneurs isn't happening despite the challenges they face. In a profound way, it's happening because of them. When you have less access to traditional resources, you're forced to innovate. When conventional doors are closed to you, you build new doorways. When existing systems don't serve you, you create better ones. This is the counterintuitive truth at the heart of what Diane Alexander's research reveals. The very obstacles that might seem to predict failure have instead catalyzed a revolutionary approach to entrepreneurship, one focused on collective advancement rather than individual achievement. This shift from individual success to ecosystem building challenges everything we think we know about entrepreneurship. It suggests that the true measure of business impact isn't just profit, but transformation. It isn't just what you build for yourself, but what you enable others to build. And it raises profound questions about how we support entrepreneurship in America. What if our incubators and accelerators focused not just on individual founders, but on community builders? What if our investment strategies prioritize not just high growth companies, but ecosystem strengthening ventures? What if our definition of entrepreneurial success expanded beyond individual wealth creation to include collective advancement? I stand before you today with an urgent truth. We are at a pivotal moment in how we understand and practice business creation. The old paradigm of the lone entrepreneur is crumbling before our eyes, replaced by something far more powerful: the ecosystem builder who succeeds by ensuring others succeed too. This isn't just a nice idea, it's the future of entrepreneurship, and it's already happening. I challenge you today. Will you continue to chase individual success alone, or will you become an ecosystem builder? Someone who measures their impact not just by personal achievement, but by how many others they lift? The choice before us is stark. We can continue with business as usual, celebrating individual genius while ignoring the systems that make success possible for some and nearly impossible for others. Or we can embrace this revolutionary new paradigm where success is measured by collective advancement, not just individual achievement. The Black women entrepreneurs Diane Alexander has studied aren't just building businesses. They're showing us a fundamentally different way to think about success itself. They're demonstrating that the most powerful form of entrepreneurship doesn't isolate, it connects. It doesn't hoard opportunity, it creates it. It doesn't reinforce barriers, it dismantles them. As you leave this talk today, I ask you, what ecosystem are you building? Who rises when you rise? How might your success create possibility for others? The future belongs to the ecosystem builders. The question is, will you be one of them? Thank you.